All right. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 36 of Tiger Heart Chats. Just want to say a few things before we go into this next episode. I just want to say thank you to everyone that's been watching the podcast and has listened to the podcast. The last episode, the one with Natalia, increased my listenership by up to 4,000%. So I just want to thank all the new people that were listening to it. It's been great for me because we've had lots more people knocking on my door and also Tiger Heart's door. I've got another special episode for you guys. I've got this wonderful gentleman who randomly I've kind of crossed paths with over the years, and we were at a dinner last week and we met and we started having a discussion, and he kindly invited me to his studio, which is an incredible place. If you get a chance to check it out, we'll talk about it in a second, but please welcome to the stage the managing director and co-founder of Target 3D. Please welcome Allan.
Thank you.
How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, good.
Right?
Thank you.
First of all, thanks so much for bringing us to this space. Those of you watching it on YouTube, you could probably see that we're in quite an interesting room. Allan and I work within the immersive tech space, and Allan has done some incredible things. He's got a wealth of knowledge within the space. There's going to be a couple of people that are listening to this who don't know you. Just give us a bit of background about who you are and also a little bit about Target 3D.
Yeah, certainly. Thanks. Well, thanks for visiting with us. Thanks for coming to Target 3D. We're here in London, central London, Dock Street. I'm co-founder and managing director of Target 3D. We started this company just under 8 years ago. I think we turn 8 next week.
Wow. Happy birthday.
Thank you. My background personally, I started my professional life as an IT guy, doing systems, domains and workstations and clients and printer support when I first entered the professional world. And really how our paths inadvertently crossed, and sort of the precursor to Target 3D was really after a while in that world of small business IT support and so forth, I joined a company called Ignition a long time ago.
I know Ignition very well.
And my role there was a sort of techie support kind of role. And it wasn't long after I joined there when the CEO at the time, a gentleman called Jim Gant, offered me the opportunity to look after tracking systems in the company, which I, took on per se, sort of selling them and looking after them and supporting them, but took them on just out of the basis of curiosity. I was really interested in what motion capture was all about, and that really sparked a real sort of dive into a new world of this tech, which is really fascinating. So, I can sort of bore you to tears with it, but ostensibly Target 3D came about because I left Ignition after 7 years, and they were less interested in the technology consultancy and supply side of things, and that opened up the opportunity for us to represent some manufacturers' products in the UK, one of which was the main ones which I got fascinated by, which is a product called OptiTrack, and it uses marker-based skeletal tracking and marker-based object tracking, I suppose. And that's how Target 3D got born. And fast forward another sort of 7.5, 8 years, we're in this kind of studio facility, which at its backbone, at its foundation, is motion capture and 3D tracking.
Amazing. And from what I understand, and this is just from talking to people that I know who know you and Target 3D, you guys have become quite prominent within this space, right? There was a wonderful lady at the dinner last week. I won't mention her name, but she mentioned that you are the market leaders of this space.
Yeah, she was very kind, wasn't she?
So talk to us about that, because my assumption is after Ignition, this was the first company that you co-founded that you're MDing. Is that right?
Sort of. Prior to being at Ignition, I had set up a small IT company, which failed really miserably because I understood IT, but I didn't understand business. Right. So when the opportunity came to represent OptiTrack products and also set up a company with my co-founder Ashley, we wanted to do things a bit more professionally and seriously. There was definitely an opportunity to represent OptiTrack products and other manufacturers' products, and I can reel them off, but really which fit into somewhat different technology types to do with motion capture and 3D tracking. So there's the suit-based ones which you can take to different locations, which are known as inertial systems. So we represent a manufacturer called Neuron, who have the perception Neuron range. There are magnetic tracking systems. So we represent a manufacturer called Polhemus, and we also represent or are able to supply other types of magnetic systems. There are different manufacturers around the world. There's one in let me get this right, in Denmark, called AmphiTrack, and they have some really interesting wireless magnetic tracking systems. And so it's really the key thing in our ethos as a business is really about offering people the right technical solution based on what they're trying to do. So if you're doing full body motion capture, you're doing fight scenes, you've got 5 performers, you've got props, you've got objects to jump over, marker-based optical is the way to go all day long. You need a studio which is about this size to then set up set and marker up people and give them props and accessories. But if you're looking to do something which is markerless, maybe it's 2 people, and you don't necessarily want to put suits on for whatever reason, maybe it's combat and there's going to be rolling along the ground, then we represent a markerless manufacturer like Capture, which is a German manufacturer who have a very comprehensive markerless tracking system. So our ethos is always about what are you trying to do, what you're trying to get out of it. Is it real time? More often than not these days it's real time. And so we try and fit the right technology solution to the problem. And we're kind of fiercely independent. Of course, we represent different manufacturers, but we try and demonstrate our independence by giving people what they need rather than just pushing a particular product all the time.
Absolutely. So it's like a agnostic approach.
As much as possible, yeah.
So this leads me to my next question, just with regards to the production processes, because obviously this world, this kind of mocap, experiential, emerging technology space is still burgeoning, it's still new. How do you design production processes for something that, you know, the majority of the creative world doesn't really understand? And I'm assuming a lot of the first steps you took were things that you, I don't want to say you didn't understand, but you were kind of learning as you were growing.
Learning along the way, yeah. That's the way innovation works. I suppose we have a breadth of customers. We have indie creators who have a good idea of what they're trying to do and are constrained by budget. And so they look for solutions which fit their budget, but then also fit the use case, and all the way up to, you know, really quite big production agencies who have a clear idea of what they want delivered, but they may not understand all of the process in between. So typically when people come to do motion capture with us or virtual production with us, if they shoot it in the studio, as part of that process is an understanding of what's the output, and then almost working backwards from that. And quite often within that, there's an understanding of the workflow, an understanding of tools. So tools would include what engines you're using, if it's game engines, Unreal Engine, Unity 3D. What's your post-production? Are you going to be using things like Houdini, Cinema 4D, Maya? You know, trying to understand all the post-shooting outcomes and that process, which is often beyond what our scope. So we do all the captures, or we provide a system which does the captures, and then we hand off that data to the post-production company or the company who's doing all the post elements. But we need to understand how they're doing the post so that we can give them the data how they need it. So to answer your question, it's really a case of understanding workflow. We're very keen to point out we're not content creators. We're recorders in many ways. We have the systems which can do the recording. We have the systems which can capture data or capture from a film camera or ingest scenes and plates and CG content, but we're not the ones to create that CG content. We're not the ones to create those plates. But we need to understand that side of it to then make sure that the tech you choose to get to that fits. From bitter experience, right? Early days, we were quite naive about it. So we would just give people some motion capture data and they'd be like, oh, this doesn't work in my post engine. It's not working. It's not quite fitting for Maya. And then we're like, oh, right, you're using it for that. So we had to learn to understand, actually tell us your post element and we'll deliver the data for your post-production.
And that's the business model now for Target 3D ultimately.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much yes. In a one-word answer, our kind of key thing when we're selling to any client, when we're talking to them about what they're looking to do, it's usually 3 key questions we try and derive. What's your budget? What's your environment? So are you capturing in a 2x2 room, outdoor on a football pitch, in a football stadium, on stage in theatre, on stage at a live concert? Your environment will determine which tech you use. Which tech you use will be determined by your budget. And then finally, what's your use case? What you're trying to get out of it. Is it a one-off? Is it a 6-month production? Is it location-based entertainment? Is it continual research? Is it a permanent museum install? So all understanding the environment, use case, and budget helps us position the right technology for the client to adopt. And then in those conversations, it's about workflow and how to adopt it.
Amazing. Yeah. And so it sounds like the vision now is different to the vision at the beginning. How much has it differed from the vision to the beginning?
I don't know. I mean, I think if you're to look at our mission statement, it's to be I think we've got a long way to go, but it's to be the number one go-to for immersive and emerging and innovative technologies.
Right.
That's where we want to be. We kind of want to be at the, when people are trying to understand, I need some technology to solve this problem. We want to be kind of synonymous with that, just like Amazon is with anything to do with convenience, right?
Absolutely.
So for those kind of more complex technology solutions, we want to be synonymous with that. I suppose as we've meandered through time and, gone through everything which everyone's gone through, which are, global conditions to do with Brexit, to do with the COVID pandemic, and then the change in technologies, we've had to adapt. We've been scared by what seemingly seem like technologies which will blow traditional technologies out the water.
Yeah.
When we first started, Vive were creating their body trackers, and we were like, oh man, how can we provide a solution which competes with that? Only to find that just wasn't fit for purpose. People tried it. People really wanted to find something cost effective, but when they paired it against traditional developed, mature, robust technologies like marker-based optical tracking, it just wasn't there. Like the consistency wasn't there. So it's not to say that those technologies aren't coming along, and I think everyone's really kind of holding their breath and having wonder and also horror out of AI. So it fits for certain purposes. The same thing happens with technology development and advancement. So our mission stays the same. We try to be innovative. We try to present the best technologies forward for what people might need. And then we try and understand where the market trends are going. And when opportunity presents itself, like it does here, where we've got, virtual production studios, where really this came about by people wanting tracking so they could track a film camera in a virtual production studio. So we had to understand the makeup of something like this to be able to represent that product correctly. And we were fortunate that because everything kind of shut down during lockdown, we had an opportunity to do a lot of research and development, and we're very grateful to the Digital Catapult for partnering with us in exploring what VP means for the marketplace to be able to represent these types of solutions. So we've benefited from R&D and exploration to be able to then meet the demands of the marketplace and also try and demystify some of the hype around things.
Absolutely. So let's talk about demystifying the hype. There's a huge cultural shift in how people are being creative, specifically because of the rise of generative AI. Where does that fit in to this kind of creative process?
I think it's there are a lot of people doing some really interesting work with generative AI to see its utility. And it's really difficult to understand how much it is and isn't kind of disrupting the marketplace. There are trends, there's waves. We thought that some of the more entry-level products were being superseded by AI tools and rotoscoping and immediate skeletal recognition through vision processing. But we're not sure if that's sort of economic market trends. But we certainly, for a while, sort of dip in the adoption of some of the more entry-level products for it only to kind of pick up again this year, which was a bit unexpected. But there's no doubt that people are evaluating AI as tools within existing workflows and processes. So utilizing scripting and some generative elements within content production to kind of speed along how they do production work. Certainly, we've seen a lot more evidence of it coming in previs, in pre-production, in ideation around storyboarding and narrative, and helping clients or end clients understand what they're looking for.
Yep.
So that seems to, from my experience, limited experience, seems to be something which has definitely disrupted that side of the marketplace. And no doubt down the line it is going to disrupt motion capture per se. But we're not seeing it there just yet because we're still finding that people want to still put the human in the process, which I think is quite relieving in many ways. But yeah, who knows where it's going to go, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's such an interesting discussion because it has made an impact in lots of different ways, but it's also, it's kind of highlighted the lies about it as well. What I mean by lies, people are saying it's going to take over everything, it's going to take over your jobs. And it's not. It's just going to change, I think, aspects. I mean, don't get me wrong. I agree with you. There's I've got friends who work in motion graphics, and they've seen friends of theirs not lose jobs, but really have to learn how to be competitive in this new place. And trying to compete with AI, on paper sounds really hard. But I do agree with you. There's still a lot to learn, which is brilliant.
Yeah, still a lot to explore. And I mean, it's just I'm always kind of trying to console myself with the anecdotal stories of the turn of the industrial age, where factories came along and people on farms said, "Oh well, there's a tractor, we're going to be out of a job." But actually, the human nature finds a way in which they can create some new way of leveraging human creativity. Now, some pessimists say that AI is just going to be like, it will decimate all human function and we'll just essentially become consumers all around. But I don't know. I think there's too much kind of human spirit. We're kind of wired to want to do stuff that I don't think we're just going to sit around on our butts and just be like, oh, give me a UBI and I'll just go on holiday all the time.
Yeah, I mean, the great things that we're seeing with AI within visual media have come from the prompts, what people are asking for, and even then it's not right. So there's a whole new marketplace there, which is exciting. So let's roll a little bit back. You're the co-founder of Target 3D, and Ashley's your
the other co-founder.
How did you meet Ashley?
Actually, I met going back when I was first at Ignition, I met Ashley. He was working at a company which is based on the south coast in Brighton. And at the time, they were called Animazoo.
Okay.
And he was a technician there, and they were inertial suit manufacturers. They're now, I think it's the same ownership, but the company's changed quite a bit over the years, and it's run by a gentleman called Ali Cord. And they're now called IGS or Synertial.
Okay.
They're called Synertial. And they make really high-end inertial suits and inertial systems. Anyway, Ashley went to Australia for a time, and he worked at Ignition Australia, and then he came back to the UK after a couple of years. And I was trying to get him, he was looking for a job after he was coming back. I was trying to get him into Ignition. To work.
He came from a tech background as well, similar to you.
Same motion capture world.
Interesting.
And then in the end, he ended up going and working with WorldViz. They're a US-based company based on the west coast of the US. They were one of the first to create quite a very useful engine called Vizard. And Vizard enabled a lot of researchers in the education sector to quickly and easily integrate head-mounted displays and peripheral devices, haptics, gloves, so forth, into a game engine which researchers could Python script content for. So it was kind of the leader prior to Unreal Engine and Unity 3D becoming so prominent. And I think Unity kind of first broke the mold with providing Unity licenses free to universities. So university students started adopting it, and then Unreal probably caught on to that, I think. And anyway, he was at WorldViz, and I had left Ignition and was setting up Target 3D and invited him to join me on the journey. And I think just the timing was good for us both. And so he joined the fun.
And then, so this was pre-COVID.
Yeah, when 2017,
When things started to heat up towards COVID, I guess two questions. One, what was going through your mind as a team? And then two, and you touched on it a little bit before, how did you pivot to find the opportunities to carry on?
So obviously no one really saw COVID coming per se. So it was early 2020, right? Yeah, it was early 2020. I think we'd not long moved into our offices in Hackney Road, which were, a big step for us. We were growing as a company. We had I think about 12 staff members at the time. And we'd just done our first kind of industry event where we had Manus, who create motion capture gloves. We had, oh gosh, my memory's failing me here, but we had a couple of companies. I think it's called Move Shelf, a Biomechanics evaluation software company, and a French HMC head-mounted camera facial capture system called Dynamics, who had all come to the UK to do an event with us in January 2020, and then the whole world just went a bit strange with the advent of COVID. We at first kind of just didn't know what to do, rabbit in headlights. So everyone ended up working from home, which was really difficult when you're hands-on with tech. And then, we went into the furlough scheme because we weren't really sure what to do. But in a strange way, because we fabricate labs and studio spaces, it's our core business. Our studio business is probably about 20 to 30% of our revenues. 70 to 80% of our revenues is technology consultancy, supply, and installations. We fell into the category of essential building works, and a lot of institutions, universities, and engineering companies had the opportunity to install lab spaces. So inadvertently, it became an opportunity for us where a lot of projects were accelerated. So we looked into the abyss, held our hands, pulled our hair out, and then realized after a while, oh, actually, we're in demand. And so then we grew the team, and at that time as well is when, shortly prior to that and during that, we got into this world of virtual production, which was something which everyone was kind of looking into. We set up a VP stage in Guildford through some partners of ours. We're very grateful to Simon Revelry and Figment Productions for lending us a warehouse space in Guildford. And we moved in there and we set up a virtual production, so kind of like a test bed. And we were just messing around and trying to understand the workflow, trying to understand the computer and everything. So in a weird way, lockdown was helpful for us as a business to grow. It precipitated us moving into this space, which is much bigger. It's kind of 3 or 4 times bigger than Hackney Road, our previous premises. And obviously very much a strategic approach to be in central London, to be accessible and all that kind of good stuff. So COVID was this kind of mixed bag of okay.
It's interesting though, because I just since COVID, just the whole AV space has just like ballooned. It's just got bigger, more. I mean, more of the clients I work with want more experiences using this type of technology. And even though there's issues, from a geopolitical, financial perspective, it doesn't feel like this kind of gold rush is going to change just yet. So well done, for kind of persevering and growing through it. Just conscious of time, but there's a couple of questions I want to ask specifically about you, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
So before you worked in IT, how did you what were you studying? What was your kind of did you think you'd be running a company like Target 3D? As you got older, those types of things. What was going through your mind, and where did your experience come from initially?
No, I mean, not this kind of a company, I suppose. I don't know. I can't honestly say that I knew I was going to run a company. Although I've always been kind of entrepreneurial. I never did so. I mean, I did okay at school and sort of passed. I finished my schooling in Scotland, so I did hires and got okay higher grades. Went to a university in Dundee. Didn't really work out so well for me, so I left after a year. I moved to London. I did a foundation in mechanical engineering. And passed that year, but didn't really couldn't really see myself finishing out a university career. So I didn't actually get a degree of any sorts, and I went into the kind of the real world, as it were. After that, where I joined a small company, and I started doing IT, and I just did professional Microsoft and Cisco qualifications all around IT.
Yep.
And then after a while, I thought, I'd like to start my own thing, where I started a small IT company, but I wasn't really successful in that. I mean, I could do the IT side of things, but the business side wasn't so successful.
And then, and so obviously, you kind of say it wasn't successful, but obviously it was a lesson you learned from that whole experience. I'm assuming that's what kind of heated up towards Target 3D?
In a way, yeah. So the biggest lesson I took from probably those 3 years of trying to run my own small IT company. I mean, what happened was I was sort of bumbling along with it, and I had aspirations to settle down with my now wife, and my father-in-law, kind of said, unless you get a serious job, I'm not really going to be very happy for you to marry my daughter. So that was a bit of a kind of a kick up the butt to get a real serious job, which is how that sort of came about. So yeah, I mean, but and then sometimes opportunities come along, and I'd left that Initian, and the opportunity to represent OptiTrack came up, and I saw that as a really great opportunity. I was in Initian selling OptiTrack for 7 years, and so I got really into motion capture. It took me to wind tunnels and operating theatres, medical operating theatres, where people are trying to understand how a laparoscopic surgeon handles laparoscopic equipment, to tracking panels on Formula One cars, to tracking heads as they move in simulators. So quite often you see the nice, or the kind of the more pleasing to the eye, the animation, the sort of Gollum, the Planet of the Apes, that kind of motion captures the stuff which most people see in the world out there. But actually there's a whole world of robotics, engineering, which is really, really fascinating, where people are trying to understand position or trying to influence position of elements through programming. So I think that world is super fascinating, and
absolutely, it kind of instigated a creative appetite that you had in you, and this is kind of the outcome of that.
Yeah,
that
correct.
Exploration.
Correct.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. So you've been in the industry. How long have you been in the industry?
In the mocap immersive world?
Yeah.
So since 2011. So what's that? 15?
14 years.
14 years. Yeah.
Awesome. And obviously you've become successful. You've got this great company. You've worked with some like big brands. I've been responsible for working as part of like some of the biggest projects out there. What advice would you have given yourself when starting in this industry, being a newbie? If you were to meet yourself, 14 years ago, what would you say to yourself?
Well, I mean, there's industry advice, I suppose it depends what you're doing. I'm very much more salesy business development with an ability to do some tech. So, I mean, I can talk from the technical side. Just, always the simplest advice is always the most salient, right? Particularly with tech, read the instructions, read the manual, because the answer's always in there. And if you sort of jump into it without reading it, you often miss a tick box. Yeah. And then from the sales and BD side is really give the client what they're asking for and find out what they're asking for, and ask those questions which elicits what they're truly looking to do. What's the outcome? And I think we touched on this a bit earlier about there's a huge desire for innovation and being innovative and the first. But ultimately, if the product you're producing as a whole doesn't deliver what the client actually needs, then it's a massive waste of time and effort and sweat, tears, and money. And then ultimately, you can't get anywhere on your own. You need to collaborate. And one of the reasons why, actually, I sort of had a mental blank earlier, but asking about starting a company, what I learned from the small IT business I had, which I definitely didn't want to repeat when we started Target 3D, was I wanted a business partner. I wanted someone who could give a different point of view, someone who I trust. And we've got another owner who came on board, Robert Jeffries, not long into the business. I think it was after about 18 months or maybe even 8 months, I can't remember, when he joined Target 3D to, take some ownership and help steer this company. And the three of us who steer this company primarily have very different points of view, have very different outlooks on the world, and have our own qualities. And that ability to get some truth from people you trust on how you can navigate the world is really, really important. So collaboration is a massive thing. Like you need to collaborate with people who you can really trust and get on with to create cool stuff, really, at the end of the day.
Amazing.
Yeah.
No, I really appreciate that. I'm sure people listening will get a lot of value from that as well.
I hope so. Yeah.
Allan, this has been awesome. I wish we had more time. I feel like I need to ask you more questions. There's going to be people that listen to this who want to get in contact with you. What's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Oh, great. Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn, on LinkedIn, ALLANRANKIN, Allan Rankin, Target 3D, of course. And then I don't really have Instagram or anything like that, but at Target 3D, you're welcome to contact us here, alan.r@target3d.co.uk. If you want to email me any requests and want to come and work with us, we're really open to looking at projects and discussing projects.
Amazing. Well, look, thank you so much for having me. It's been really inspiring coming here and meeting your team and checking out this tech. It's been really good. Those of you listening, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate and value you guys investing your listening time to this wonderful podcast. Please, if you're sharing this, make sure you use the hashtag or one word Tiger Heart Chats. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, please be good.